Everybody, thanks for joining us on this Thursday, May 7th. I'm CJ LeMaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host for the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk Update. It is 1 o'clock. Thanks to so many of you for watching right now on our Facebook and YouTube live streams, also on our OTT platforms. We really appreciate it. As you might imagine, we've got a lot to talk about today in the way of severe weather, the damage from last night's storms into today and what we know at this point. So we're just going to go ahead and start. This is some of the latest information we just got from the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency. And again, those of you who want to follow along with this or see some of this coverage, we have complete coverage on our website, WLBT.com. Right now, one of the top stories, of course, is talking about the 17 people injured, and we have a host of information here that we're about to go through. But of course, the Mississippi Emergency Management Agency continues to respond to these severe weather events. It's too soon at this point. Damage assessments are being made, but in terms of surveys from the National Weather Service to determine, whether or not there were tornadoes, we know there were radar indicated tornadoes. We know there were possible tornadoes from what we were hearing about, but in terms of actually talking to people on the ground who are seeing this, it's their job to look at this and make sure, was there a tornado? Was it straight line winds? What was the magnitude of that tornado? Was it an EF1, EF2, EF0, etc.? And so that process is ongoing. But here's what we can tell you. There have been 17 people injured related to the storm following all that weather. This is according to the governor and the state's emergency management agency. 12 of those injuries reported in Lincoln County, 1 in Franklin County, 4 in Lamar County. Our reporter, Claire Cole, has been in Bogue Chitto for most of the morning. She even did a live shot for us at noon, giving an update on the damage there. And of course, we'll have more information in our early evening newscast from Claire just on the impact there. Here's what we can tell you about initial damage assessments. 275 homes and 50 apartment units damaged or inaccessible in Lamar County. 30 roads closed there due to debris. The county shelter and safe room is open, and support from the American Red Cross is available. So if you know somebody who lives in Lamar County or you live there yourself, you're watching this on your phone, those are some resources that are available to you. The county shelter safe room is located on Central Industrial Row in Purvis, 99 Central Industrial Row in Purvis. In Lincoln County, more than 200 homes damaged there. The Cajun Navy deploying a 50-person shelter pod, generator, and 10 pallets worth of supplies. There is a Lincoln County safe room on Beltline Drive in Brookhaven in case you need that. There were also 12 homes damaged in Lawrence County, multiple roads closed as well. So, roundabout almost 500 homes damaged or inaccessible from these storms that came through. If you are affected, please, MEMA is encouraging people to file an insurance claim, take photos of the damage to the home, and report damage to the county and MEMA via the self-report tool that's available on the website. Let's get through some of the stuff that we've been covering from our cruise last night. In Adams County, the sheriff's office there urging residents to limit travel to emergencies only as crews clear storm debris and downed power lines across the county. This is what they were seeing. Many people out there. Sheriff Travis Patton, said several roads are still blocked while utility crews work to safely remove debris tangled in power lines. As of this morning, that is still a situation there. We're checking with the sheriff, and we're going to try to have updates for you this afternoon on what that situation looks like. Hopefully, as conditions improve, that will actually get better. Also, we're monitoring emergency alerts and roadway hazards, as well as that information from the sheriff's departments and these various agencies. So switching from that, from Adams County now to Lincoln County, you can see some of the footage here from our crews at the height of last night's storms. The National Weather Service issuing a tornado emergency in Lincoln County. And you're looking at video from I-55 south of Brookhaven, where traffic was temporarily blocked in both directions because of debris and downed trees. person who lives in the area described what it was like when that apparent tornado came through and the cleanup and recovery process his community now is faced with.
And I was on my back deck, and I went to the front deck, because the wind started getting a little rough. Well, about 45 minutes it come through. There was trees popping. I had a tree coming down in my front yard. I went in the house because it really got rough. I got on the floor, and when it come through pretty bad.
Emergency crews continued working through the night to assess the damage and find anyone who might be trapped or injured. Maria, on our Facebook live stream right now, giving a comment. We want to go ahead and get that in there. She says, my prayers go out to all. Please be safe, and is praying for those involved. It is certainly a disastrous situation. We are no stranger to severe weather here in Mississippi. We are no stranger to the impacts from that. But as our public officials say, and being a native Mississippian, I can tell you just from experience that in the worst of times, we typically see the best of responses and the best of people while they are digging through all of the damage from these storms. So if there's one silver lining here, it's that. And thankfully at this point, no fatalities have been reported. In Franklin County, storms caused damage there. I want to show you a gas station. This is the roof of the shell over there in the town of Bude, just east of Meadville. It collapsed because of, it could have been from the rainfall, could have been from the wind, but either way, the storm caused it. That just one of the scenes there. Over in Leake County, flash flooding reported. Look at this Sonic drive-in right here. Carthage Police Department says flash flooding and downed trees are impacting their city. The police department says the city's in the clear for now, but crews are working to get the power back on. And that is one thing that we're also watching too. If you look at the poweroutage.com, which we use pretty often to determine not just what's some of the hardest hit areas, but we're updating our counts of homes that are affected on air and things like that. Yeah, look at this: 11,000 customers in Mississippi out right now, out of about 1.5 million tracked. So that's a pretty hefty percentage of the state that is without power in terms of just what we're seeing now. I mean, again, it's less than. I'm sitting here trying to do the math in my head, folks. It's less than 1% of customers out, but it's still a pretty sizable portion when you think about just where it's concentrated. Obviously, Franklin County there has the second highest number of outages, but Lincoln County, almost 5,000 customers out. And when we say customers, keep in mind that doesn't mean people. Customers means houses. It means people that are being built. So you may have homes that have 3 people in there. So if you're doing the numbers, when you look at almost 5,000 customers out, that translates into, maybe 10,000 people without power or 10,000 affected. And so those numbers here as well, average household size is 2.5. So you do the math, you're looking at 26,000 people affected by power outages in Mississippi. Again, in that southwestern corner of the state, leading all the way up, into Lincoln and Lawrence. Very few customers without power in Copiah, but you can see the affected areas there. Jefferson had some outages. Walthall having a lot of outages, almost 10% of customers in the county without power. But again, Lincoln County, 1 in 4 homes in Lincoln County right now is without power. So that is definitely something that shows the seriousness, the severity of the situation. Governor Tate Reeves issuing this statement on severe weather, saying the state of Mississippi is in contact with local emergency managers and first responders. MEMA is currently coordinating the state SAR response. If you need assistance, please dial 911. Pray for Mississippi. Many of you also getting in on the comments here and talking about this situation. Britt with a prayer hand saying, my heart goes out to those families of the storm victims and to those that lost everything they had. Thankful God spared us in central Mississippi. A lot of us dodged a bullet. That's exactly right. And unfortunately, you hate to see this kind of damage. But certainly if those storms had hit more populated areas of the Jackson Metro, for example, we very well could have had situations with fatalities. and of course the First Alert Weather Team here keeping people updated as well as we could, and doing it very well as those warnings came out, making sure people knew to get in their safe space, get out of the area, and make sure that that this was coming through as it was happening in real time. Glenn Folks saying prayers for all who experienced the effects of the tornado. Anita Faye Jackson saying, my Lord, prayers for the families. And Anna Harrelson praying for everyone. Miss Clara Goods saying, we're here in Jackson. We're praying for everyone as well. And Shauna offering up prayer hands. So a lot of you showing support, and that's incredibly important to those who are affected right now. Of course, now the rebuilding process is going to begin after the damage assessments are completed, and that's oftentimes the most challenging part of all of this, just trying to make sure that they're able to get all that. And I can tell you this from being a reporter. I was in Tupelo working up there when the Smithville EF5 tornado hit there. That was a devastating situation. Probably 90% of the town of Smithville was wiped out from that. And, in this job, just like maybe obviously less so than first responders, but as a reporter, you see this stuff up close, and it is incredibly heartbreaking to see. But then also too, when you see those stories of people that survived, you see those stories of people that are helping people they don't know. It really warms your heart. Carrie Elizabeth Smith saying prayers for my husband's work family and everyone else that was involved with the tornado. Bridget Johnson saying currently any serviced by Magnolia Electric Power are reporting 8,200 plus outages. That's a pretty high number. Thank you for that, Bridget. And again, that just shows the magnitude of the situation, because when you're talking 8,200 plus outages times 2.5 people per household, you're talking 20,000 people. That's a lot of people affected. That is basically the city of Brandon completely without power. That's the example of that, because Brandon's about 20,000 people. So it's a lot. But we are going to continue to cover that. We have crews that are continuing our coverage that will be there this evening. Our Claire Cole has been out in the field for a good portion of the day. We'll have the latest from what she saw over in Boca Chica, and we will continue to keep you updated. Melissa Price saying good afternoon. Miss Melissa, hope you're doing well as well. We're just all trying to kind of get our bearings after last night, and we appreciate you watching and joining us today. I want to switch gears a little bit. One of the stories that we were working on yesterday involving two men tortured by the so-called goon squad in Rankin County, now suing a county supervisor for defamation. They claim he publicly called them rapists and drug addicts. These are the men who filed the lawsuit. The complaint was filed Monday against Supervisor Steve Gaines. Excuse me. On behalf of Michael Jenkins and Eddie Parker. In May of last year, Mississippi Today obtained audio of Gaines commenting on the county's settlement of the police brutality lawsuit after 5 former deputies had already pleaded guilty to criminal charges. Gaines can be heard saying the sheriff's attorney, quote, beat the pants off of those guys. He goes on to describe them as dopers, the people that rape and dope your daughters. Now, Jenkins and Parker say Gaines accused them of rape and drug offenses, but neither man has been charged or convicted of those charges, or had been at the time of this. The lawsuit also argues that Gaines portrayed the two men in a highly offensive and false light. They are not suing the county, but they argue it failed to correct Gaines' statements. Supervisor Gaines did not respond to requests for comment. He claimed last year his remarks were general and not directed at anybody specifically. And we want to have one more note about this too. Eddie Parker in December of last year was arrested on drug charges in Louisiana. And again, for the purposes of this lawsuit, I apologize, folks. I've got a tickle in my throat. That arrest came months after Gaines made this statement. So, again, in going for a defamation claim, Gaines made this statement that the lawsuit alleges was about these two victims. And at that time, neither of them had been charged or convicted of anything involving rape or drugs. So again, that is the basis of that suit, and we will continue to follow that. It is not the only suit involving Rankin County. And family there in the county one step closer to justice after the Court of Appeals in Mississippi overturned a key ruling in a custody death case. Damian Cameron died in 2021 in the custody of deputies Hunter Elward and Luke Stickman, both identified as members of the notorious Goon Squad. His mother sued, claiming the two beat her son and used excessive force, even violating their own department's policies. Cameron's death was ruled undetermined, but in 2024, a Rankin County judge blocked the lawsuit, ruling the deputies were shielded under qualified immunity. That's a doctrine that protects government officials from civil suits. On Tuesday, the state's high court, threw out that ruling, sending the case back to circuit court. Elward is currently serving a 20-year sentence for the torture of two black men. Stickman has not faced any criminal charges. Republicans are divided on how far Mississippi should go with redistricting. Right now, the special session that comes up in less than 2 weeks will be limited to redrawing the state's Supreme Court lines. But State Auditor Shad White has been vocal on social media in calling for that to expand to congressional redistricting too. It turns out the Republicans in the state are split on whether they should rush to do so or be careful not to create what some have called purple districts.
There is nothing stopping them from doing that. The big question is, will they have the courage to do that?
I think it does open up a whole can of worms, but I think the unintended consequences are very likely. And I think a lot of people are trying to make political hay out of it. Let's see if we can cozy up to the president because that's what he's asking us to do. That's not what we're in Mississippi to do.
It's also something Democrats are acknowledging, too. In last week's press conference, the state party chairman, Chuck Taylor, noted efforts could backfire on conservatives if they do too much. He says because there aren't many ways to dilute black voters in a state that's already 40% black. A couple other folks saying hi to all of us here on this Thursday. Margaret Richardson saying, good afternoon, Miss Margaret. I hope you're doing well. And Melissa Price saying that she's praying for everyone involved there. Yeah, it's a horrible and devastating situation, but we are going to continue to follow all of that. And we appreciate all of you. Again, I know that some folks get frustrated when we break into programming with a tornado warning, with severe weather coverage, but it's because there are so many people that are affected by this in that area at that time that need life-saving information that it is worth it to break into programming for that. It may not be a tornado event or an emergency that affects you where you live, but I assure you that, and seeing it as up close and personal as I have in the 14 years I've been doing this, it is essential that folks in some of these rural areas have that early warning and have that ability to be able to get that information to hopefully save lives. And we want to be able to continue to provide that. We want the First Alert Weather Team. We want you to know that when we are tracking, when our weather team is tracking these storms, they are not letting any stone go unturned. They are watching it like a hawk to make sure that you know instantly, as quickly as possible, when that storm could turn deadly and where it is and what you need to do to get to safety. So thank you so much for watching. Our First Alert Weather Team will be in here at 2:30 to kind of recap. They might have some more information from these National Weather Service assessments. It might be a little too early, but they may have that. Plus, we're going to find out what the weekend has in store for us. A lot of things happening. Pepsi Pops tomorrow night. You've got the Makers Fest in downtown Jackson at the two Mississippi Museums on Saturday. Events that could be affected by weather that comes through. Hopefully not as much as maybe we've seen in previous years. But of course, all that's coming up. And then our early evening newscasts begin at 4 p.m. on air and online. Again, for everybody here at WLBT, I'm CJ LeMaster, your lead investigative reporter and your host for the WLBT Plus Digital News Desk update on this Thursday, May 7th, 2026. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you back here on Friday.